Hey everybody, Adam here. Hope everyone is doing well. So it's official. This summer is hotter than a $2 pistol. It's hotter than a priest in a preschool. It's hotter than an unchanged diaper in the backseat of a soccer mom's minivan on your grandpa. Point is, it's hot, which is why seeing me in a t-shirt is the closest you're ever going to get to seeing me naked on this channel. If you want to see more, you'll have to subscribe to my OnlyFans. Just throwing it out there, something to consider. Anyway, it's actually a little overcast right now and a little rainy, which is a nice respite. And that's why I'm not wearing my trademark hat. But up until right now, it's been over 100 degrees almost every day this summer. So I wanted to share with you a simple technique I've been using to battle the heat in our tiny house, because we don't have an air conditioner. And without AC, there's just not much you can do. Unless your walls are like 2 feet thick and you've got superior ventilation. Anyway, without any further ado, let me go ahead and show you what I've been doing, and if you're in a similar situation, maybe it can help you out. Alright, so I've got two 10-inch fans here. I think those are 10 inches. And I've got them set up so that they're blowing air out of that window. And by the way, I'm up here in the loft, in the tiny house, or as I like to call it, the scrap house. So anyway, yeah, so I've got the fan set up to push air out of the window. And that might seem kind of counterintuitive, but I'll explain it as thoroughly as I can. It'll all make sense at the end. So if I was using these fans like like most normal people would, let's say I had that wall mount fan actually like mounted on a wall downstairs somewhere, blowing air around the building. That's not really going to do much to cool down the building. That's just going to push hot air around the building. In fact, up north, people use fans in the winter to move heat around their home so that it's more evenly heated. And in this house especially, that doesn't do much because this house has bad ventilation. Air just kind of gets trapped up in here. So if a bunch of hot air gets trapped up in here, I can blow it around the inside. It's not going to feel any better in here. In fact, sometimes it feels worse because you have this hot air blowing on you. Instead, by sending air out of the building, I'm creating a tiny little pressure difference between the outside and the inside. I'm just ever so slightly depressurizing the inside. But it's just enough of a difference to force makeup air to come in through the screen door and the window over there. So fresh air comes in the building as stale air gets pushed out of the building. And because the fans are always running, that creates a constant cycle of this. So it's just this never-ending loop of stale air moving out that window, fresh air coming in the screen door and the other window. And that's how this works. So essentially I'm exhausting the building. The reason it works is because the big problem is, and again, especially because the ventilation's not all that good in this building, air gets trapped up in here, and then radiant heat from the surfaces of the building heats up that air. And the longer that air is trapped up in here, the hotter it gets. Eventually it gets hotter in the building than the temperature outside. And one of the reasons that I know this actually works, and works pretty well, is because the day that I set up that fan, I started with one and then stepped up to two. But the day that I set up that fan, it was 110 degrees inside the house. It was absolutely miserable. As soon as I turned that fan on, within minutes, it started to feel better in here. And previously that day, my fridge, which you can't see, my little fridge down here, that was cycling nonstop all day. It never kicked off. It just kept running and running and running because no matter what temperature I set it at, it was too hot in here for it to get cold enough for the compressor to switch off. About 5, maybe 10 minutes after I turned that fan on, the fridge started to cycle normally again. I also stopped sweating. Now, it was still miserable in here. It just wasn't as miserable I'd say within about 20 to 30 minutes, the temperature dropped down to about from like 110 down to about 106 or 105, whatever the temperature outside was. So it's still really hot, but it was better than 110. Which brings me to another important point I want to bring up, because I don't want to oversell this kind of a setup. It's not air conditioning. It's not going to cool the air down. If the temperature outside is already hotter than the temperature inside, it will drop the temperature down over time, but it's not going to get any cooler inside than the temperature is outside. The coolest it's going to get is whatever the temperature outside is, and vice versa. If it's initially cooler in your inside of your building than it is outside, and you've got the windows open and the fans running, it will slow down the rate at which your building gets hotter as the day goes on, but eventually the temperature inside will reach the temperature outside, maybe even 1 or 2 degrees higher. It depends on how good your insulation is, yada yada yada. But yeah, that's basically it. Now, if I had my druthers, I'd actually just have like one big shop fan or a box fan, something stronger than these little fans. That one's stronger than this one, so the idea is this one feeds air to that one, and then that one kicks it out of the building. But yeah, I'd have just like one big powerful fan. The more powerful the fan, the more dramatic this effect is going to be, this depressurization effect and pulling in that fresh air as you push out the stale air. You don't, however, because these are not true exhaust fans, you can see I have them set quite a good distance back from the window. You don't want to put it right up against the window, because these fans don't have any suction on the back of them. They actually blow air a little bit on the backside. So you wouldn't, if you put one of these fans right up against the screen, you wouldn't be blowing air out of the building. You'd just be preventing air from coming in through that window, which would probably make things worse. So just a little word of caution there. And my advice, if you really want to get the best comfort, is I'd set up 1 or 2 fans in your house to blow air out of a window, preferably the highest window. So again, this is the loft. So because cold air sinks and hot air floats on top of cold air, it's the hottest air in the building that gets kicked out. But yeah, set up 1 or 2 fans to blow air out of a window, and then set up another 1 or 2 fans somewhere else around your house to blow air on you, and that would definitely give you the most relief. I have a small personal fan down by my computer desk that I run while I'm running these, and that creates a pretty nice cooling effect. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell. It's pretty simple. Again, this is for small spaces and people that don't have AC. If you're in a really big house, I don't think this is going to do much for you, and if you have any kind of AC unit, you're much better off just running your AC. But yeah, gonna wrap it up here. Hopefully this helps some people, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.